I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 134. If you don't already know, I'm Kev Tardello, coming to you on Friday, October 6th. The Bobcats are back on the road. Louisiana Raging Cajuns tomorrow. A lot of you are going out there. I see a lot of you heading out there. I wish I was with you. Couldn't make it out this time. I really wanted to go. It's not that far of a drive. It's like a 5.5 hour drive from San Marcos. But shout out to everyone going. Shout out to everyone going to those parties. I have those listed out. I'll read those out to you so you can go find some of those watch parties in San Marcos, San Antonio, and Houston. We'll get to that. We'll talk about this game. I've got a great guest, Dave Schultz. Covers the Raging Cajuns, covers the Sun Belt. He's an awesome guy. I've been meaning to have him on for a long time. He always has me on his radio show or his podcast. I'm actually going to be on his radio show a little later today. So glad to catch up with him. It's interesting to hear his prediction. Even though Louisiana's beaten Texas State 10 times, as we've discussed, our guy Schultz over there thinks the Bobcats are going to take it. So hear from him here in just a little bit. Before we get to that, though, this episode is sponsored by TGC, the Galindo Collective, TGC LLC. You can find them at thegalindocollective.com. That's Galindo, galindocollective.com. A team of professional consultants dedicated to helping others realize their business potential through people, planning, and practice. Their services cover a wide range of areas such as business strategy, marketing, human resources, and financial planning. If you own property or a business and want to maximize its profitability, contact TGC at thegalindocollective.com and follow their social media platforms on Twitter at TGC_LLC and on Instagram and Facebook at the Galindo Collective. Shout out to my guy, Rick Galindo, a true Tech State sicko, a Tech State grad himself, sponsoring us through the whole season. Can't thank Rick Galindo enough for hanging with us and believing in us, partnering with us. Check them out. Any of your needs, thegalindocollective.com. We are also sponsored by Balcones Roofing and Remodeling, the most experienced F-Wave roofing contractor in Central Texas. F-Wave is a highly impact-resistant lifetime shingle with stunning designer curb appeal. It is the only roofing product on the market with an exclusive hail warranty. Said it a bunch every time I read the ad. That hail warranty is as good as gold. We know more of these hailstorms are going to come up, so why not get that preemptive strike and hit up my guy Carl Larson over there at Balcones Roofing and Remodeling and get it going. Shout out to Carl Larson, a converted Gamecock. He's a new sicko, a new Bobcat. Great season to jump in, Carl. Glad you're with the good guys now. Hit them up at balconesroofsaustin.com. That's BALCONES roofsaustin.com. Call them at 512-937-8805. It's 512-937-8805. Follow them on Twitter at Balcones Roofing. Thank you to Balcones. Our next sponsor is Thaddeus Watkins, San Marcos Edward Jones financial advisor. You all know who he is, former Tech State offensive lineman here. Does your financial advisor take the time to really listen to you? Is your financial strategy personalized to you and your family? Will your financial advisor be there as your life and financial situation change? When you work with Thaddeus Watkins, your San Marcos Edward Jones financial advisor, he focuses on what's important to you. You'll work together and use an established process to create a personalized financial strategy backed by the advice, tools, and resources to help you reach your goals. Contact Thaddeus Watkins at 737-373-8200. That's 737-373-8200 and at edwardjones.com/Thaddeus-Watkins and follow him on Twitter at Big Thad, BIGGTHADD _ on the Twitter handle. Shout out to Thad Watkins. He's a true Tech State sicko, former Tech State player himself. He's immersed himself in the San Marcos community after graduating, still lives here, goes to the games, helps with recruiting. He's just an all-around Bobcat, and who better to protect your finances than a former Texas State offensive lineman? So hit up my guy Thad. And our final sponsor is Austin Patchmaster, austin.patchmaster.com. one of our first sponsors. So glad to have them back. Is your ceiling or wall cracked? Need that popcorn ceiling removed? Did you punch a hole in your wall after the Bobcats gave up that lead last week? Hit up my guy, Michael Clements. He's a true Tech State sicko, a Tech State grad himself. They are servicing the greater Austin area. They can also offer referrals to areas like Houston and Dallas. So hit them up even if you are in those areas. But if you're in this area, contact them. Let them come out and fix some of your stuff. Michael Clements over there, I mentioned him, one of our very first sponsors, somebody who believed in us in the spring, really got the ball rolling for us. So I'm very thankful to have Michael back into the mix in this fun season for the Bobcats. Contact them again at austin.patchmaster.com. You can call them at 512-200-3888. That's 512-200-3888. All right. Thank you to the sponsors. Let's get to these Bobcats. I'll keep this little intro part brief because it's got a good 25 minutes. I was talking to my guy, Dave Schultz, and we go over a lot. And most of the points we talk about is what I was going to talk about, where Louisiana, they have a really strong pass rush. They've got a really intriguing young quarterback in Zion Chris. They have a really good running game as well. There's a lot of similarities, not necessarily in scheme, but as far as results, with the offense scoring a lot of points, the defense giving up a lot despite getting after the quarterback and being a pretty feisty defense. So these teams are very similar. That's why when you look at the odds, to all my gamblers out there, it's going to be a tough one to choose from. It's such a close game, but it's like a 2.5 point spread, I believe. Here, I can pull that up real fast. I think I was just looking at it. Yeah, and I mean that's as close as it gets. It started out the week at 1, and then it moved to 2.5 recently. Yeah, it's still 2.5 right now. Total 44 points. Ooh, I'd take that over. I think it's going to be over. Like I said, both these defenses have been letting the offense. Letting the opposing team score quite a bit. So I imagine that 44. I expect a high-scoring one, similar to last week. You know, I mentioned it before that game. That was looking like it was going to be high-scoring because Southern Miss had some of those similar qualities, although Louisiana is similar but better. They do it a better way than Southern Miss, obviously. So it's going to be a really interesting matchup. I still have the Cats. I believe in the Cats in my fall camp. When I was doing a season prediction for what I was thinking when I came up with 6-6, this is when I had them losing. I think they're going to finish better than 6-6. It's somewhere around 8 wins, 7, 8, 9 wins. I think that's where they're going to land. And I feel like they can do it this week. They have some other tough opponents coming up this season. This is one of the toughest that they have. But I think it's a good matchup. I think it's time. 10 games, losing to Louisiana. I think it's time to get rid of that. But if I were to give you a score, I'd probably go, I'm going to say, I'm going to do 42-38. I like that. I don't know why I like that, but I like that. In favor of the Bobcats, just so you know. Yeah, if you are a gambler, this is a tough one to pick on. I mean, you look at the history, right? You talk about 10 games. Tech State's lost 10 games to this team, but this isn't that team. I mean, even when Kinney was talking at his press conference, and one of the questions was about that, was like, Texas State has never beaten this team. And you can, again, he's still very professional, but you can tell he was kind of annoyed by that. He's like, yeah, but that wasn't me. I wasn't here when they lost to those teams. Not a lot of these players weren't here. And that's a fair point. It is a brand new team. So I think it's time to exercise that history. But let's talk about those watch parties, because that's very cool. People are very passionate. I've seen a lot of you are going out there. Really wish I could. I was trying to work it out. That's why I kept saying TBD up until the game, see if I could make it out. But I gotta take advantage when I can be around home right now as much as I can with the season as busy as it is. But I'll tell you this: those Cats go to a Sunbelt championship game, and it's not in San Marcos, I'll be there. A bowl game, I'll be there. No doubt about it. I don't think I'll be able to go to another road game this season, this regular season, but some postseason, I'll be there. I'm gonna make that happen. But let's look at these watch parties, and then we'll cut it to Schultz. Some good stuff there. Let's see. Let's start out with the San Marcos one. Shout out to Monica Malargo Katz. I'm sorry, I probably mispronounced your name there. Monica Malargio Katz. Watch party at Zelix. We all know where that's at on Saturday. I wonder, Katz in her last name. I wonder if that's the Katz brothers. Could be. Shout out to them. If so, shout out to you, Monica. Appreciate the graphic for the watch party. But that's going to start 2:30 tomorrow, which is Saturday. If you're listening to this on Saturday, at Zelix. Y'all know where that's at. The old converted gas station. Let's see. We also have Houston. Shout out to my guy Gus Seller for pointing this out at Seller Gold on Twitter. He has one at Elder Sun Brewing Company from 2 to 6 in Houston. Elder Sun Brewing Company. I don't have an address. Thank God for Google. All of you know how that works. So you can check that one out. But again, that is Elder Sun Brewing Company in Houston. And then San Antonio. My guy, rep the state of Texas. I've actually met this guy in real life at that Incarnate Word game. I saw him at the Texas State game not too long ago, too. What's up, my guy? At TXST Game Day, they've got one going at Growler 2014. I know I retweeted this, so I'm going to check. I took a picture for when I read it here, but let me see. Let me pull up this tweet. Growler is corner of Blanco and Hubner and Stone Oak. Claude Hoppers. Oh, okay. It's called Claude Hoppers. Got it. Okay. That was just their Twitter handle. HOPPERS_S. Claude Hoppers in San Antonio. So go check that out. Go mingle with some fellow sickos. Go find your fellow Bobcats in those areas. I'm so tempted to go to the Zelix one here in San Marcos, but with the 2:30 kickoff, I actually have a deadline for the Statesman. So usually when these games are 6, 7:30, they're like, it's not going to get up tonight. We're too busy worrying about UT and what the Longhorns are doing. So just hit us with it tomorrow. But 2:30 kickoff, I can get that in, get it online, maybe even have it in time for the Sunday paper. We'll see. It's exciting stuff. But yeah, let's do it. Let's cut to Dave Schultz. Really appreciate Schultz for coming on the pod. Lots of good stuff. But look out for my spot on his radio show. All right, I am joined by the great Dave Schultz. Covers the Raging Cajuns, does the Locked On Sunbelt. I've been on his show many times. It's about time I've had him on my show. David, how you doing tonight, man?
Kev, I'm doing great. Thanks so much. Should be a great ball game.
Hey, I'm ready for it. It's been a long 10 years for Texas State against the Raging Cajuns, but it feels like a little bit of a different year. A little bit of a different year for the Raging Cajuns as well. I got a nice young quarterback going and everything. Tell me about Louisiana. How are they looking? How's Michael Demarue getting them?
Well, I agree with you that, I was told by people, it doesn't matter. It's Texas State. We haven't lost. It's all by double digits. I'm not buying that because how many of these guys have lost to the Cajuns more than once, right? If there's anyone left from last year, and how many times have the Cajuns beaten them more than once? So I think the teams are very different. Although I think the Cajuns played Incarnate Word last year, so they kind of know what's coming with G.J. Kinney. I think the Cajuns are playing good football. They've stubbed their toes a couple of times at the end of ball games, right? They were blowing out Buffalo and UAB. The UAB still was about a 20-point ball game. Buffalo ended up being they needed an interception on the last possession just to win the game. Their only bad game, I guess, and why this game concerns me is ODU. They did not have a whole lot of answers for ODU, and they play tempo. And they stacked the wide receivers out wide. So we'll see. They had issues getting calls in, and the defense wasn't ready. That can happen once, but when it starts to happen a couple more times than that, that's an issue. And then, they spread the wide receivers out wide. So how do the safeties help out? So ODU got a lot of guys open down the sidelines one-on-one, and apparently the Cajuns misjudged ODU's speed. So these guys went right by them. So offensively, though, I should say defensively, the Cajuns are among the nation's leaders in sacks. They were, in fact, going into last week, I think they were the number one team in sacks with 18. They only had one against Minnesota, so I think they're tied for 5th or 6th. And so they're really good defensively. They've gotten some guys back healthy-wise on the defensive line. But the Cajuns are also good running the football. The offensive line has come together over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Kind of shaky week one. They've got some guys back from injury. They actually have some pretty good depth there. And so, before the Minnesota game, I think they're averaging about 230 yards on the ground per game. They are very explosive with Draylon Washington, Zion Chris, the quarterback, and Jacob Kabodi, who had a 52-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter against Minnesota. So it's a well-balanced team. Texas State's going to have to worry about Zion Chris running compared to, I'm not sure how much TJ Finley runs on his own in terms of plays calling for him. I know he can scramble and he will move, but I'm not sure there's too many of TJ Finley run plays scheduled for Texas State. So it's a good matchup. You have this really experienced quarterback that's played a lot over the last few years and a young quarterback who will be playing, I guess, in his, let's see here, 8th game overall. And you can see a lot of talent and potential with Zion Chris.
Yeah, it's funny you mention the players, how many of them have lost to the Raging Cajuns twice, because there's not many, but believe it or not, there's one player on the team that's been there since 2018. So he's lost 4 times. His name's Aiden Smith, offensive lineman. So there's one guy there, but that's about it. Otherwise, yeah, you're right. It's a completely different team.
So they don't know about all the issues.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and when you brought up Chris and how he's a dual threat, that is probably the one area type of quarterback that the Bobcats have struggled against. So I think that's another benefit for the Raging Cajuns. But even when you look at the spread, I think it's like a 1-point advantage for Louisiana. I mean, it's as close as it's ever been. You were just talking about how it's been a lot of 10-point losses over the years for Texas State to the Raging Cajuns, but it's interesting how similar they are. I think it's going to make for a really good game. You brought up the good running attack, the good front seven, one of the top teams in the nation. It's interesting when you look at the sacks for, I think JMU's right up there with Louisiana, strong Sun Belt representation. But it seems like Louisiana always has a good running back and a strong front seven. So, I mean, that's no surprise to me that you're saying it's the same situation this year, huh?
Yeah, since I've been here and started covering the Cajuns in 2013, went away for a little bit and came back. So I was only here under 1 year under Billy Napier, but he's been trying to they've always been trying to run the football. It was Alonzo Harris and Eli McGuire, nice, Batman and Robin situation under Mark Hudspeth. And then Napier had, Trey Regis, the human bowling ball, and Raymond Clay, Jr., the sprinter, and then the good combo back was Eli Mitchell. So they've all tried to do that. I think Napier probably spread it out a little bit more and, a little bit more hat on hat. And you make one guy miss and those guys are off to the races. And you see that a lot. That happened a lot against Buffalo. I think it happened against UAB, whether it is Zion Chris or Jacob Kabodi. And the kid that they're all waiting to come, I just haven't seen a lot. He's had fumbling issues, is the youngster Zylan Perry. They say he is potentially the best. I just haven't seen it yet, so it's tough to comment too much on that. But yeah, they're trying to run the football and they're trying to stop the run. And as you mentioned, the Cajuns have been really proficient at that over the last few seasons.
So you're saying their best back might be waiting in the wings? Is he a freshman, Perry, you mentioned?
I think he's a redshirt freshman, but he's had a couple of fumble issues inside the red zone. And so he hasn't played a whole lot. 2 games ago, he did not play offensively. He's the kickoff return guy, so they want him to be his home run hitter. And I think he only had 2 carries against Minnesota. They did not get a lot of plays in the second half while it was still a ball game, so he did not find himself on the field. But Draylon Washington is going to be the speedster, but Jacob Kabodi, he's got a lot of speed too, but he's going to run you over. He's the straight ahead, here I come guy, and he can put the foot in the ground and make one move and make you miss. So he's had a lot of home run hitters, and Zion Chris he rolled out, against UAB, he was rolling out to the right. He was looking to throw it, and then he noticed nobody was in front of him. So he started to run, and about 20 yards into the run, he made a left-hand turn, and still nobody was there. And so he ran like 75 yards for a touchdown. So Cajuns are really athletic. For a game that took 3 hours last week against Minnesota. I'm going to buckle up for this. Got 4 hours written all 4 hours written all over it.
See, you're already talking about it before it even started. You jinxed it. We're gonna have a 5-hour game on our hands now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Question though, I find it interesting. The Cajun. This was a pick'em game on Sunday, and now the Cajuns are favored by 2.5. I don't know why. I really don't. Someone must have been looking at the 10-game losing streak for Texas State, because it doesn't make any sense to me.
And as much as we talk about that, this is a new team for Texas State, new coach, GJ Kinney, 53 new scholarship players in the offseason, 71 new players overall, new quarterback. You still have to talk about that, because that matters. I mean, they have lost 10 straight years to this Raging Cajuns team, and they're going on the road to them in a place that the fans, you'd probably know more than we do. We, from our perspective here in San Marcos, it seems like they have a lot of fans that show up to the games there. At least we see them travel a lot for baseball and everything. I mean, it's usually a lot of red in the stands when the Raging Cajuns are in town. So it is a pretty tough matchup, even if they are somewhat evenly matched, even if Texas State does have an extra win than Louisiana. I mean, that loss that we mentioned at ODU and then Minnesota, it's still a really tough opponent. It is somewhat of a monkey on this program's back to get over Louisiana. I mean, if there is one program in the Sun Belt Texas State has been completely dominated by, it is Louisiana. So I get that why it changes, and people probably just started betting in favor of the Bobcats a little bit more, or Louisiana a little bit more, and it shifted that line. But I think it's going to be a pretty even match, even more even than in years past. But it's going to be a tough one for Texas State, no doubt.
Well, Texas State is not undefeated because someone tripped over the 10-yard line, or else they would be undefeated, I think. So to be fair to Texas State, but also, overall, obviously Texas State 4-1, but there has been some inconsistency. Whereas the Cajuns, really they're two where they had to, they were blowing teams out and couldn't finish them off. All right, some of that was coaching decisions, by the way. If Chandler Fields comes in at the beginning of the fourth quarter, the backup quarterback, in a ball game where the starting quarterback got hurt, but it's a 40-3 ball game, and he's throwing the ball with 15 minutes to go because that's the offense. That's one thing, but he's throwing the ball around and it's like 40-10 with like 5 minutes to go. No. Just run the football and get out of there. And unfortunately, they scored a couple of more times to make it a close ball game. But Texas State, to me, seems there's still some inconsistency with Texas State, right? They blow up Baylor, right? And then they have trouble scoring against UTSA the following week. Tough ball game rivalry. I get it. Then, they blow out Jackson State and they show up flat against Nevada, right? And there is a reason that Nevada has now lost, 15 in a row. That's a 17-point, deficit that it felt like in a blink of an eye that Texas State, and some of us may have had the 17 points that Texas State was giving. And all of a sudden they were covering because Nevada kept on fumbling the ball away. Out of all those turnovers, I think one was actually caused by Texas State. They just seemed to drop the football. And then last week, they had a 42-10 lead at halftime, and they just kept on handing the ball back to Southern Miss, and Southern Miss actually had the ball down one score. They actually had a shot to tie that ball game up. And so I know Texas State put a score on at the end of the ball game, so they did cover that game. So that may have been a good thing for some of us. But so there's still some inconsistency, I think, in the Texas overall, but Texas State, season overall. But win and move on, 4-1. They're coming here, and I'm looking forward to seeing GJ Kinney at Cajun Field, and good for TJ Finley, right? We've been following him here in Louisiana, throughout his whole career. Started at LSU. Miles Brennan gets hurt. He's got to come in as a true freshman in 2020, and the team was a mess. The defense was awful. The offensive line struggled. And then he goes on to Auburn, and, the Brian Harsin era at Auburn was a mess for 2 years. TJ Finley actually came in a couple of times and saved some games. Like Bo Nix got benched, and he saved, I think it was Georgia State game. or maybe Georgia Southern. He saved a win over Sun Belt team, and then Bo left after injury, and he just struggled. There was a whole thing. Ironically, the transfer that they got from A&M, who went to Auburn, is now, wait for it, the quarterback at Incarnate Word. So it is full circle. But good for TJ Finley. Every time we heard him talk, when he was with LSU and Auburn, he just seems like this great kid. And he's crushing it. Someone said to me this morning, he's like, well, you're always waiting for TJ Finley to make that mistake. And I was like, no, that's not this year's TJ Finley. That's previous year's TJ Finley, right? In 18 ball games, he had 12 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Well, now he's got 10 touchdowns and 1 interception. So he's had a fabulous year. He's not like throwing at 500 yards, but he's averaging almost 280 yards, and that's 1 bad ball game against UTSA, so it's probably closer to 300. So good for TJ Finley. And can you correct me, is he just a redshirt sophomore? Does he have 2 years left if he wants them?
He does. Yes, he is a redshirt sophomore. It's an interesting perspective, you talking about TJ being in Louisiana over there. I appreciated that, David. Yeah, but he does. And that surprises people that he's a redshirt sophomore. So at LSU, that was 2020. That year doesn't count, open eligibility because of COVID. And then he went to Auburn for those 2 seasons. In the second season, last season, he only played 4 games before he got hurt. Mm-hmm. So he was able to get a red shirt. So yeah, he does. He actually, even though he started college before Malik Hornsby, the backup quarterback for Texas State, Hornsby first year at Arkansas was 2021. But Hornsby's a junior because he hadn't redshirted. He didn't get that open year eligibility. So it's kind of interesting. It's such a weird time with the transferring, and you even kind of alluded to it too, with the Bo Nix situation, and now Incarnate Word's quarterback. It's really interesting how everybody can shuffle, but it is good for players who, like Finley, were just put in some bad situations, and they're able to come out of it and find somewhere else and get a fresh start. Because it's funny that you say the deal about the turnovers. People keep waiting for him to mess up, because that was the knock when he got here, and that's what people kept telling me when I was watching him in fall camp, and I was talking about what a strong arm he has. People would come back at me and they're like, just wait. He tries to force the ball. He throws it too hard. He's going to force interceptions, and he's yet to do that. Maybe he did that at some of these other places, but he's yet to do that at Texas State. So that's been pretty impressive. But even though as good as he's been, you mentioned it, consistently inconsistent with this team ever since that Baylor game where they had a pretty much complete game.
Right.
The last 3 have been pretty inconsistent, more so the last 2 where it's been 2 completely different halves for the Bobcats. And I think that shows why it's still a really young team, young coach. Those inconsistent deals are going to happen. It's why it's great as good the Bobcats. They're number 1 in the West Division right now, but there's still a lot of season left. There's a lot of situations that could pop up throughout the year. Them being at 4 games is incredible. I don't think a lot of people anticipated that, especially not in his first year. But I think the Bobcats have a long way to go before they start putting themselves up against Louisiana and measuring it. I think they'll be able to compete this Saturday, but I mean, as far as that prolonged, consistent success that the Raging Cajuns have had, I think the Bobcats, they're on their way, but they still have a little bit of ways to go to get to there.
Well, right now, I'd be surprised if they finish less than 3rd.
Yeah,
I don't have any idea what's going on with South Alabama. I really don't. I cannot explain. And the word I use, and it's a really big word for me, I am completely befuddled on what has happened to South Alabama. They are not nearly as good as they should be. They did not play well against Tulane. They played about 30 minutes or so, maybe 20 good minutes against Southeastern. They blew out Oklahoma State, so people thought it was figured out, but Oklahoma State stinks. Then they blow a ball game to Central Michigan where they started out 14-0. They actually take the lead late. And one of their veteran guys, instead of forcing a long field goal on 4th and 5, and in case he makes it, there was time left to go. Well, that would only tie the ball game up. And South Alabama would have had time to go and maybe score the game-winning field goal. A veteran player gets a personal foul. So now instead of kicking a field goal that they may or may not make or having to go for it on 4th down, they're in position to score a touchdown. Last week, and Central Michigan wins the ball game. And then last week against JMU, their bus is late because of traffic. Their running back is wearing the wrong jersey because apparently they forgot it. And then the TV, which has nothing to do with South Alabama, indicated that the linebackers coach was Kane Wommack. So what has happened when South Alabama comes out? They go 3 and out, JMU touchdown. Once again, South Alabama goes 3 and out, and JMU touchdown. 7 minutes into the ball game or so, it is a 14-0 ball game. And after the game, all I'm hearing from Kane Wommack is, well, we really stopped them outside of the 48-yard touchdown play, outside of the 46-yard touchdown play, and out of the 66-yard touchdown play. They really didn't do that much against us. I mean, come on. Those plays count too.
It's fascinating. South Alabama. It may be a slow start, but I mean, everybody was picturing them at the top with Carter Bradley and everything.
I thought they had a chance to go undefeated, and I was completely wrong. The team that's really improved throughout the season so far, I think, is Troy.
That last game.
I think trying to replace Carlton Marshall is, much easier said than done. I know he's not big in stature, but he was the NCAA all-time leading tackle, leader when he left, and I don't care how many years that is. That's amazing for a guy his size, and I think trying to replace that is just harder than expected, and it took him a couple of games, right? Troy only gave up 30 points one time last year, 30 or more points one time last year, and that was on a Hail Mary to App State. They in the first 2 ball games, they gave up 30 or more points this year. They're doing better now. Really sent a message to Georgia State, in Atlanta. So I'd be shocked because, the Fighting Will Halls are struggling a little bit in Hattiesburg. So I would be shocked if then this game will go a long way to it. Can Texas State, finish? I mean, if you get Troy, the Cajuns, and Texas State, that's going to be your 1, 2, and 3 in some order as of right now. At least that's what I think. Although out of nowhere, where did Arkansas State come from?
I was just about to say
3 points. They scored 3 points, right? And they're 3 points in the first 2 ball games combined, and now they've scored like 127 in the last 3 ball games. So I don't know what's going on there. They insert the freshman quarterback, and Jalen Traynor has them going. So good for Butch Jones and the Red Wolves.
Absolutely, yeah. You said it with what it was with that freshman quarterback, Jalen Traynor. I mean, he's really good. A lot of good young quarterbacks. I mean, not even. We were just talking about Chris. And you look over, you see Rainier there. I wouldn't say TJ Finley's young. He's a sophomore, though. He's a very experienced sophomore.
Right.
But there's a lot of really McLeod at JMU, Jordan McLeod. A lot of fun talent right now in the Sun Belt. But for this game on Saturday, what do you think is going to happen? Do you have a prediction? It's kind of early in the week on Wednesday, but how are you feeling about this game?
I'm terrified. I really am. I think Texas State's going to come in here and score some points. I think the Cajuns can score some points. We talked about the line has now gone in the Cajuns' favor 2.5. It was over-under was 67. Now it's 69. It's going to be 70 by the time we get here. It could be a lot like that Ole Miss LSU ball game. The team that gets the stop at the end is going to win. So LSU got a stop to go up 49-40, but couldn't get a stop again. Ole Miss gets a stop when it's 49-47, and they get the ball second last, and they score, and they eventually get a stop at the end of the ball game. I think this is going to be a high-flying affair. If the Cajuns can somehow get to Finley, again, I know he's not a running quarterback per se. The thing is, if he gets past the line of scrimmage, he's bigger than the guys doing the tackling, right? Once he gets past the defensive lineman, trying to get tackled by linebackers or even safeties. So the Cajuns have to do a good job of rushing him and keeping him in the pocket to tackle him because it's hard to do once he gets out of there. The Cajuns need like 3 sacks in this ball game, and turnovers are going to be a big part of it. I am terrified. I'm not sure the Cajuns win this ball game. And I'm I got Cajun stuff behind me, and then Homer and everything like that. But I would not be surprised if this ball game was like 42-38 Texas State.
Wow.
I'm kind of where I'm leaning. That's where I'm leaning right now. I don't think a lot of people around here are going to agree with that, but I'm going to be really impressed if the Cajuns can come away with a victory against Texas State.
I can't believe I'm hearing a raging Cajun see they're afraid of the Bobcats, but I mean, that's the way it goes. I mean, it's a new era, new time for Texas State for sure. Great
Well, I
stuff,
will
Dave.
say I will say they are both lighting up the scoreboard. Have you made that
Yeah.
T-shirt yet? Please tell me if you made that T-shirt yet.
Now we're going to. We'll get one in
You need to.
there. I'm kind of waiting on them to make their version of it first, so I don't infringe on anybody's brand. But somebody needs to make a light up the scoreboard T-shirt because
Yeah.
that is true. It's funny you say that because we brought that up as well at the press conference with GJ about how similar that they score a lot of points and really get after the quarterback on defense. That seems to be both these teams' fortes. So it's going to be for an interesting matchup, definitely on Saturday. But Dave, this was awesome, man. Give me some plugs. Tell the people where they can find you. And I know we got some Bobcats going down there. Where can they get something good to eat down there in Lafayette?
Well, they can get somewhere. I mean, just Google it. Prejean's is going to be a good place. Dino's is right next to the stadium. There, you will not have a lack of places to find a place to eat, and they are some of the most professional chefs. So if there is still have an issue with tailgating, it hasn't rained here a lot, so they're worried about things catching on fire that shouldn't. But if there is tailgating, everybody will invite you to that. So don't worry about that. You can find me at SchulzeCast on Twitter. Of course, Lockdown Sunbelt, your team every day. And I host Sports Chat 3 to 6 p.m. on 103.3 The Go, Monday through Friday. So this was a lot of fun, Cap. It's about damn time you had me on your show.
It's about damn time. Hey, you know what? You know so much about the Sun Belt. I got to bring you on again this season. We're gonna do it. We'll pick a good spot and keep bringing some Schulte. We need more Schulte on Win Now or Get Bent.
I'm a big believer in that. More Schulte is good.
more Schulte is good. Well, hey man, you have a great night. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Kev.
All right. Thanks to Dave Schultz. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/WinNowOrGetBent. WNOGB.com for our merch site. Check it out. I'm wearing the sweet shirt right here. Bang. Got that there. Got hats, got mugs. Hey, and me and the Wizard just had a meeting, and we're going to launch some more merch coming soon. Some more good stuff, some good variation. So I'm excited to talk more about that. We've gotten a little stagnant with the merch, letting you guys get your hats and all that, all the mugs and all that good stuff. But we're going to hit you with more. Check out our YouTube channel if you're not watching it on there right now. YouTube.com. Win Now or Get Bent is our channel. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Share it with your friends. Tell everybody you know, assorted relatives, whomever you got. Help us grow. Appreciate all y'all doing that. Follow us on Twitter at Win Now or Get Bent and on Instagram at WNOGB. Thank you to TGC, Balcones, Thaddeus Watkins, and Austin Patchmaster. Of course, thank you to the Wizard, Zachary Webb, doing extra work for us. Appreciate you always getting this stuff out and making it look good, man. I really appreciate you. And of course, to you sickos, none of this is possible without you. Big game. After that game, halfway through the season, boy, have we felt this good halfway through the season in a while, sickos? We'll see. We'll see how it really feels after that Louisiana game, because that's a true test, no doubt about it. But all right, everybody. Until after the game, win now or get bent.